So it is summer 2022, and I suffer from seasonal depression, and my seasonal depression comes in the summer rather than the winter when I think a lot of people really suffer from it. This channel and this job I love, but my primary job is being a full-time mom to my two kids. And my two kids both have special needs. So during the summer when they are home full-time, that means I am a full-time caregiver. And that takes all of my time. And so there's not a lot of space in my head and in my day to do things like come in here and quilt. So this happens every year, like clockwork, and I feel like I should be able to prepare for it a little better by now, but we're all still working on that. Social media has not made this any better this year, and that's what I really want to address in this video, is that feeling of comparison between where you are now in your life or in your quilting or in your art or wherever you are in whatever space you are thinking about in that moment compared to what you're seeing on social media. And everyone is guilty of this. You make a new quilt and you take photos of it and you pick the best one, and that's what you post to social media. So that view that we're getting into other people's lives it's a snapshot. You don't know what's going on in the background, or how many pictures they had to take, or how tired they were when they were taking those pictures, or what their personal life is like. You don't get a glimpse into any of that in these pictures. But what you do see is like just this beautiful finished object, and it feels like, wow, that's so amazing, and that's not where I am now. And so I'll just sit here and feel bad about myself. So today I want to pull back the veil a little bit and show you some of my very first feathers. Now there may be pictures of these out there somewhere, because when I finished with these, I was super proud of them, and I still am. Like, these were the first feathers I ever put onto a finished object, and I thought they looked amazing. I was so proud of them. I remember taking pictures. I remember forcing my husband to admire them, and he didn't really get it, but I was like, no, look, they're really good. So here are my first feathers. I remember making this piece. It's obviously a St. Patrick's piece, and I'm pretty sure I finished it like the morning of St. Patrick's Day. And I remember being so proud of this. I was so impressed with how all my feathers kind of glided into that stem, and they were all, roughly the same size. And I started here somewhere because I didn't even clip my threads very well. And I went all the way around and I like nested it back in. I was so impressed with myself, and they got around the curve so nicely. And of course I finished that side of the feather and realized like I didn't even have enough room on the other side of the stem, the center, to even do the other half of the feather. So I just stopped. And there's pleats in it, and I see these problems now, but when I finished it I was really proud, and I still am. I'm proud of these feathers because they were the first, and that makes them really meaningful. Now, had I looked at these feathers and then gotten on social media and looked at someone who had 20 years of feathers under their belt, whipping around on a long arm making beautiful feathers, these would not have felt so special, because objectively they're not great. Like, they look kind of like fingers. And they're not the flowy, beautiful feathers that other people make on Instagram. But they were my feathers, and they were where I was at that point, and I was really proud of them. So I know that it is really hard to take a step back from comparison when you see something really great that someone else has made. But there's a story behind every picture and every skill that you just don't see. Like this picture that I took of this quilt in the park, it's great. It's a great picture. It's a great tree. I love the quilt. It's like gently blowing in the wind. But you don't see that it was like 100 degrees that day, and I was just dripping with sweat from carrying quilts across the park, and a man actually walked by me and asked me if I was okay. Like, you don't see any of that. You don't see how I got dirt all over the quilt from dropping it and had to come up and wash it. All you get is the picture. And so it's like this idealized version of this quilt. Just like there's this idealized version of how clean everybody's house is and how beautiful everybody's feathers are and how perfect everybody's piecing is, because you see that detail shot of like the lines that perfectly match up. But maybe you don't see the block on the other side of the quilt where it's just a little off. There's a reality behind every picture, and there's a history behind every quilter. So I guess the takeaway here is don't be like me. Don't fall into this trap of feeling bad about where you are compared to this reality that doesn't even really exist. So I'm going to do my best to take my own advice and give myself a little grace this summer. And school starts in 2.5 weeks. So I will get some time back and be able to indulge my creativity, because I know every summer it goes away, but every fall it comes back because I find fall really inspiring. So I'll be back, and until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful quilting life and be proud of yourself, even if your feathers look like fingers. Now, the point in showing you these feathers is not to poke fun at these feathers. I still love this piece and I still use it, but the point is to show you that if you are just starting out in quilting or just starting out in free motion quilting, or maybe you've been free motion quilting for a really long time, but it's a skill that's difficult for you to develop. I have skills that are very difficult for me to develop, and I have worked on them for a long time, but I still see pictures of other people who are just like zooming along with it, and I feel really inferior. But that doesn't have to be your takeaway from Instagram. You can be proud of the work that you are doing right now. You don't have to compare it to anything else that's going on. You can take it for what it means to you in this moment and feel a sense of joy and pride in it.